Hello! In today's video, I am going to be going over and explaining my choices of hero talents and pairings, as well as artifact and pet pairings for this season. As I was already thinking of, and as Jalen mentioned in the comments of my last video, this map is pretty massive. So in order to navigate this map better, you're going to want to have more march speed on your heroes. And since we don't have mastery skills this season, one of your marches that got a little bit of a crutch from that last season won't get it this season. So it's very important to plan ahead for that. So let's start by talking about the march speed of different units. In the field, I'm only going to be using Vestals and Celestials. Tier 5 Vestals have a march speed with the bonus of 173, and Tier 4 Celestials have a march speed with the bonus of 182. Okay. And given that, your heroes with Tier 5 units will want to have more march speed than your heroes with Tier 4 units. And as you can see on this spreadsheet here, these were my march speeds before I'm going to make these talent changes, and these will be them afterwards. I've also started using Thea instead of Alwyn with my Tara march. I'm going to explain this later. As you can see, the march speed is slightly lower on my Atheus than my Waldir, which is good. However, I think it makes sense to have my Thea be faster, and then I'll be using my Breath of Gargantus on Thea in case I want to go in and target something quickly. So we can't make Bertrand any faster, unfortunately, and he does end up being the bottleneck. But instead of bringing Thea down to 38% or even lower, so that they're all the same speed, I think it makes sense to maybe have your Tier 4s be slightly faster, especially if they're support marches. But as we go on through the season, if I notice these guys getting picked off way too much, I will lower their march speed, and that's pretty simple to do. So first, let's get into Bertrand, and the fun little thing here, I can apply one more skill to him. We are now 50 tokens away from max, so worst case scenario, he'll be maxed in 25 days. Very fun. But now we go into the talents. These are the talents that I was running last season, and now for this season I'm going to be running these talents. These talents crucially pick up these additional march speed spots here, whereas last season I was only getting this, which was pretty bad. So now I'm getting an additional 12% march speed. Let's go ahead and switch to that. If you'd like to take a screenshot, go ahead. But now I am going to move on. And next we are going to go to our Thea. So our Thea is going to be using both of these talents here for march speed and this talent here. If it ends up being too fast, I can go ahead and swap for one of these talents or one of these talents instead of these march speeds, and probably move this talent somewhere else as well. And at the end of this Thea tree here, which is really awesome, is this 10% severely wounded reduction. That's why I'm primarily wanting to use Thea as a primary now, so this is going to be great. And also at the end of this here, we can choose between Cornered Rat, which gives your Legion 2% more damage when they're below 50%, or Thunder Fury. When you cast a rage skill, your Legion gains Keen and Shelter. So this is only a 5-second buff, and it can be triggered once every 30 seconds. So you're probably looking at something around like 15% uptime with the slippage of not like casting your rage skill right away. And one additional buff I think with this skill is that I believe it does trigger this here, the additional 15 rage when you get a buff effect from the Shelter and Keen, but I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to read the logs once I actually start using this hero. So we're going to go ahead and actually toss a coin because I'm not sure which one of these is better, so let's go ahead and do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to do heads for Cornered Rat and Thunder Fury for tails. So let's go ahead and see how this goes. And there we go. We're going to go ahead and take Thunder Fury. Very cool. Briefly before we move on, I'd like to take a look at Bertrand's talents here. There's definitely a debate between whether you want Wither and you want Chant. However, I think that getting the debuff from Wither is nice. And, maybe you want to have like a mixture. If you have 100 people with Bertrand, maybe 50 of them have Wither, 50 of them have Chant. So, if you're feeling like copying this build, maybe go for Chant instead. I don't think it's super critical. If I notice that my merits are slacking, maybe I'll change it. I do have a ton of talent reset books left, but we'll have to see what it looks like later on in this season. But for now, let's go ahead and move on to our wall deer. And our wall deer isn't changing. It's going to be the same as last season. So if you want to take a screenshot, go ahead. I haven't actually reviewed these talents, so maybe they should be changed. But I think it's okay because the march speed is there. You maybe could make an argument for going into the PvP tree for a little bit more march speed if you were like insane. But I think that this is probably fine. And then for our last hero, we can go ahead and go into Atheus. And Atheus is also remaining the same. I'm really liking this Atheus Indus combo. I think that the rage generation for Indus is great. The 1 extra talent goes here into this 3% march speed. And yeah, I think that this march is really powerful. The Atheus Indus combo I think is underplayed, underappreciated. Because when you're running Indus primary, I feel like it's going to get targeted way more often than an Atheus primary. Which, you know, an Epic probably would get targeted a lot, but if I see Indus or Tara as a primary, I mean, they're immediately getting targeted. So, yeah, this is the talent tree I'm using for my Atheus, and that was pretty fast, but that's already all 4 of the talent trees that I'm planning on using. So, next what we probably want to take a look at is artifacts. I think it's pretty straightforward. So, we're going to be running the Mirage Orb on our Bertrand. We're going to be running the Phoenix Eye on our Waldir Velen. We're going to be running the Jargentus on our Thea and Tara. And then the Tear of Arbin on our Atheus and Indus. And when we are teleporting in, we'll use the Teleportation Staff or Staff of the Prophet on Atheus Indus instead of the Tear of Arbin. And this season, I may also try to get some value out of my infantry artifacts, which I haven't been able to get much value out of in the past. And I do also have level 5 Shadow Blades now, which is kind of crazy. So I am tempted to use archers with long-range warfare. However, I still need to decide on this, and if I do go for archers with long-range warfare, even though I'll only be running 1 archer march, we'll have to see. But another thing that discourages me against that is my city theme gives me negative archer HP, so I think that it probably makes sense not to run archers, even though it would give me 1 more march. I'll have to think about it a little bit more. And I do also have the Infernal Flame. It is only level 1. I don't think that it makes sense for me to use Infernal Flame compared to any of these other artifacts that I'm planning on using. So the Infernal Flame will be sitting on the bench for now. Maybe if we eventually get a new mage hero that actually gives Scorch, other than Lilia, I'll start using it. But for now, I think it makes sense to leave it on the bench. And then, I mean, you have your epic artifacts, I guess, like your Frozen Ring and stuff that I can use on infantry. But yeah, that's how we're doing on artifacts. I do also have this Reforged book in case I change my mind and for some reason I want to use my Infernal Flame or something later this season. We'll cross that bridge when we get there, though. And now let's get into the fun part, which is war pets. So we got a bunch of things to do here. First order of business is probably releasing this pet here. I'm going to regen it down here to 2 skill slots, which gets rid of these 2 2-star skills, which kind of sucks. But the reason for that is that I'm going to build a 2-star skill in the first slot here, and that's going to be a heart wall for my Thea. I was considering maybe a Terra barrier as well, but I think that it makes sense just to get a heart wall on there. That way Thea gets buffed when she gets a shield, obviously, so we're going to have that. Let's compare the price real quick. 143. Okay, so we want to build straight from a 0-star. Confirm. And then let's go ahead and upgrade this to 1-star. And the reason why we're making this a 2-star skill as well is that either we get this 2-star skill for our Thea, which is okay, or even more ideally, we get this 2-star Divine Blessing for our Sand Lizard, which is worth quite a bit more. So let's go ahead and release this, and hopefully we can get lucky. Lucky would be getting the Tranquility skill, and no, okay, so we got Heart Wall. This way we get a useful skill instead of getting the skill that we wanted. So now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and move on to the war pets we will be using. Of course, we'll be using the Shadow Phaedrake Soul Siphon here. This is the best pet that I currently have. I was considering 3-starring one of these skills when I released the 3-star skill a couple of weeks ago, but instead I'm just going to save that currency for a new war pet. So this pet, obviously good to go, don't need to change anything here. On our sand lizard though, we are going to 2-star this divine blessing here, that way we just get a little bit more healing. And the rest of these skills, I think I'm just going to leave them on there. So that's going to be on our Atheus Indus. And then we have 2 Sapphire Fade Drakes here that we need to work on. And in order to decide which Sapphire Fade Drake we're going to upgrade, we're going to go ahead and take a look at Roni's website, cod-junkies. And that's just going to help me decide between these two which one I want to focus on my Waldir and which one I want to put on my Thea. Here we are now on the cod-junkies website. On this website, you're able to input the stats of your pets and mess around with them, applying different skills before you actually get the results in game by spending the currency. So I think this is super valuable. We're going to be comparing our 6-slot and our 7-slot Sapphire Fade Drake. As you can see right now, our 7-slot Sapphire Fade Drake would do 252 damage factor, and our 6-slot would do 290 damage factor. So given this information, we're going to go ahead now and change this 6-slot and the 7-slot to be slightly upgraded with a level 1 follow-up and a level 2 resonance. So let's go ahead and do that. This is a great website, and I would encourage you to use it as well if you're trying to compare pets. So now our 7-slot Sapphire Fade Drake would do 291 damage factor, and our 6-slot would do 319. So that's going to give us the answer we need, and because of that, we are going to go into the game and upgrade our 6-star Sapphire Fade Drake. I'm not going to be investing in any of these other skills since they are quite expensive, so, you know, this is just a slight micro optimization in order to get the most value for my pet currency spent on these Sapphire Fade Drakes. Personally, I believe that this website is great. If you'd like to support the website, there is the option to do a one-time donation or join the Patreon. You can do a one-time donation that he'll put your name up on this board. Maybe you'll scroll down at some point when a couple of more people join as well. And then on the Patreon, you can also go ahead and join that for free if you would like. As you can see, it looks like he's planning some things for maybe some hero damage calculators, which would also be pretty cool, along with some guides, just, you know, because he did make this image, which is super valuable. So if you want to support him with doing things like this and also future projects, feel free to go ahead and do that. Now we're in game, and we're going to go ahead and level up our Sapphire Fade Drake for our Waldir. And the way that we decided we were going to do this is we're going to upgrade our resonance to 2 stars, like so. There we go. And we are also going to put a 1-star follow-up on this pet. Now, it's debatable which skill I should be replacing. Do I want to replace 1.6% or 2.4%, I guess, Legion attack? Or do I want to replace 1.22% HP bypass? Or do I want to replace this defense break or the hero crit rate? And I think the answer to this is kind of a toss-up between the hero crit rate and the poison gland here for the HP bypass. However, I could upgrade this HP bypass, which I think is what I'm going to do, and then I will go ahead and replace the crit rate. This is on Velen Waldir, so I don't think the crit rate is necessarily essential. So let's go ahead and replace this skill with a 1-star follow-up. So 1-star follow-up is 873. I almost used the 2-star heart wall there. And I actually already have a bunch of 0-star follow-ups. So let's go ahead and do that. That's pretty cool. I guess I must have already bought those. So buy one more, yeah, that brings my total cost for this up to like 700, which is a lot cheaper than the 873 of outright buying a 1-star follow-up. So that is our Waldir Velen pet setup, and now we can go ahead and work on our Thea pet. So for this pet, this is going to be on our Thea and Tara. So crit rate is entirely useless because neither of these guys do damage. So we're going to go ahead and actually replace this 2-star skill with another one, like so. I think that it also makes sense to go ahead and maybe upgrade robust body, but maybe not. It's a decent increase to HP, but it is tier 4 units. Increasing the follow-up skill as well isn't crazy. It would increase my damage factor by a little bit, but as we did showcase, this is the weaker pet of the two if I was going to choose to invest in follow-up. So if I wasn't so concerned about saving pet currency for the new war pet, I did just spend 5,000 today, so I think it makes sense to keep this for the new war pets, but if I wasn't so concerned about that, then I would go and invest a little bit more into that pet. But for now, I think this is a good choice. And that's going to leave us with our 4 marches. Let's go ahead and select those now. We're going to want to use our Thea here. Thea is going to have the Breath of Gargantus, and Thea is going to have this Sapphire Phaedrake. Thea is also going to be using Celestials. This slot here, this all looks good. Yes, it does. So our Atheus is going to have the Tear of Arbon. Atheus also is going to be using Celestials. And our Bertrand Tohar is good to go as well with our nice Sapphire or Shadow Phaedrake. So let's go ahead and save this into slot 1. And I'm also going to head and make a quick save here with the Staff of the Prophet. And let's go ahead and put that in slot 2. And then with some of these other slots here, I'll go ahead and make some other iterations of this as well for different situations. Maybe I only want to bring out T5s, maybe I only want to bring out T4s. You never know. So let's go ahead and send these guys out with our Tear of Arbon instead of the Staff of the Prophet. And there we go. We have 4 marches, which are all pretty good and pretty close to each other in march speed. Let's go ahead and put them all in one spot, send them way over here, and then compare the march speed. So the Bertrand Tohar is of course the slowest, and the other tier 5 march is pretty slow as well. However, this is less than a 10% difference, so I think that this is okay. It might be worth considering lowering the speed of my tier 4 marches. However, I don't think that on the front lines that'd be very good. The idea here is that when we're moving a very small distance, they're all going to stay pretty close together like they are right now. And yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with the results here. Maybe I could tweak this further, but for now, I think that this is okay. If you have any advice on my decision making in this video, or you'd like to give me feedback maybe on my talents or any of the other decisions that I made, do let me know down below. I think that these 4 pairings make the most sense for me, especially as a free-to-play player since I don't have Lilia. I'm looking forward very much so to next season when we will have 2 new mage heroes for the first time in like a year. It'll be great to finally be able to upgrade and use some new heroes, so yeah, looking forward to that. But these are going to be my hero pairings and talents, etc. for this season. Thank you for watching, and have a great rest of your day.